Okay, so hopefully this is working. Hopefully you guys can hear me. As you can see by the title of this video, and a lot of younger people are not going to like this video, but as you can see by the title, why I think Kodak and Bobby Shmurda are not going to change and why they haven't changed. And the younger people, this is a video as as a lesson, as a breakdown as well. Because let me tell you guys something, man. Unfortunately, and I talk about this all the time, you know, this channel, I give my backstories, my life story, I give my experiences that I saw firsthand when it comes to the street life, and I open up about other things as well on top of that. And I'm 31 years old. These, young cats out here, these young bulls, they barely the age of 24, 25 yet. Most of them are not even at the age of 21 or 20, so they can't just go buy a pack of cigarettes at the gas station. That's why they got to hit up people like me, how I was, at in my 20s, especially my early 20s, like go out there and go buy a pack of cigarettes, you know what I'm saying? And back then things were a little bit more looser because they didn't ask for ID all the time either. So that's how a lot of the young ones would come up drinking, unfortunately, and smoking, unfortunately, as well. See, the thing is, I grew up with a couple of people like Kodak, for example. Kodak, he's been, in and out of prison. And I talk about plenty of times before, he tries to prove himself as being too real. And that's the problem. He's trying to prove to his homies, right, who honestly, at the end of the day, they got to go back home to the hood. You know what I'm saying? But he has them around him because, they want to be around him so they can feel like they're a part of something. So when somebody brings us some drugs or some guns, and then when you start, I guess the word vibe these days, when you start catching one of those, they want to go onto their phones on the internet, go live, right? But they tend to forget that they're live. And when you're a high profile figure who's been in and out of jail and in prison, you don't think that there's going to be fake pages that are undercover pages that are like, okay, I know this guy, he's not supposed to be having anything. Oh, wait, is that some drugs right there we see? Oh, okay, he has a gun too. Okay, we need to get the screen recorded down. So the undercover pages, they screen record this. These are authority pages that look like normal pages, and unfortunately, I've been in and out of jail a lot. So I ended up becoming a target of law enforcement. I was getting sent fake pages, but I knew better, so I blocked them because I knew what their attempts were to do at the time. This is before Instagram and Facebook had like the live stuff, So what we could only do was post pictures, and this is back when you could go live on YouTube without having a certain amount of subscribers in order to do that and then to get verified. So I knew what the plan was the whole time because they knew that, okay, he comes from a poor background. We know he runs the streets. We need to try to catch him doing something while he's on probation right now, so luckily, I didn't fall into that trap. I posted pictures, but I wasn't going to post pictures of anything that was going to get me jammed up at all. Because, yeah, I was running the street still while I was on probation in order to make the money I needed to still pay for probation. And I knew I needed money to pay the last bit of the jail fine off. Because jail and prison, that ain't for free. You got to pay money for that. For those that done time knows exactly what I'm talking about. Then you got to have money for your last court date, which is going to be the most expensive. So you got to have money for that. And when you have somebody that's too hood for the industry, too street for the industry, right? We saw what happened with Chief Keef. You know what I'm saying? Chief Keef, I think he was signed, I think to Shady Records and I think Universal, and I think he was signed to another deal. I can't remember which one. And we heard about his work persona. You know, he was lazy. He didn't want to do videos. He didn't want to show up for interviews. He didn't want to do interviews. So when you have somebody that comes from the streets who can't, you know, get out of their ways, who can't change, but you're fueling them with the money, you know, you're adding fuel to the fire. And that's what caused Chief Keef so much to get in trouble. But as long as that money was coming in, he was paying stuff off and like, look, I'll do this X amount of time, but I'm going to pay all this. I'm good as long as I'm still getting paid and selling records, right? Well, there comes to a time where if you don't follow what you're supposed to do as an artist and try to get yourself straight, of course you're going to get dropped from the labels, and then you're going to be out. You know, you're going to be out on your own. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to be out completely on your own, and that's what ended up happening. You know, so then it's back to living off the mixtapes, and he's been doing good with that. And even though he hasn't been on social media like that, I think that, you know, Chief Keef did change. You know, he's streaming, he's doing gaming, so he did change his ways, you know. And he said to himself, look, I realized where a lot of stuff was getting me, so it was time to cut everybody loose who he used to hang out with and used to talk to, and everybody's used to seeing it. And he had to make that decision, like, yeah, that decision's made. I realized I can't be around you all no more. Because he was becoming too high profile of a person. I think he's okay with not going back to Chicago. You know, if you take a look at Chief Keef's situation, you know, he was taking raps with people too that should have been taking raps for him. And you guys heard me talk about this. If I'm the main breadwinner, right? And if somebody brings something that's going to get us busted, right? Or if I have something on me, and if we get busted somehow, I need somebody to take that fall, because they don't have to worry about paying for their jail fine or trying to get bail, right? They ain't got to worry about if they get sentenced. They ain't got to worry about, okay, getting money on their books. If they need a lawyer throughout this, they ain't got to worry about that, because the breadwinner, the main honcho, is going to make sure that's took care of and that's paid for, and that their family, you know, as their family, you know, their mother or grandmother, whoever they're going to stay with, along with their, you know, girlfriend, baby mama, and their child. So they're going to be took care of. They're going to be straight. So when they get out, right, of course it's going to be right back doing the same shit. But they realize they can do that, because as long as that main breadwinner is still there and you're staying loyal and true to that person who's bringing in the money, then guess what? Everything's all good, because they're going to be like, okay, I can keep doing this. Well, take a look at 50 Cent. Take a look at Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, you know, The Game. You know, they shared similar stories. Like, you know, they set ground rules. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, you know, who may have not have been with them all the time, but who were with them all the time, if that makes sense, who kept getting out of trouble. And it's like, man, as long as it's there and I'm loyal and I'm staying G-Unit to the street, they'll keep bailing me out. Well, now look, they said, you know what? After this Get Rich or Die Trying tour, that's what made 50 decide, once he started working on the Massacre album, I got to get rid of all y'all. And that's what he did. That's what they did. They made that smart decision, and that's what caused a lot of people to say shit and to hate on him. Because I'm not fit to keep wasting my money because you think you can keep getting away with shit. Because, oh, you know me, you know I'm going to bail you out. You know, I'm not going to keep giving you money if you don't want to work for it. So Chief Keef, 50 Cent, they made those decisions. They ain't going back to, they ain't trying to go through the old hood no more. There ain't nothing there for them. You know what I'm saying? So if you take a look at Kodak, yes, he's too street for the industry. You're adding fuel to the fire, trying to put a fire out with gasoline. It's not going to work. You know, he's a young bull. He knows he's still young, and when you're still young, and when you're out there getting money like that, or if you're just out in the streets getting money, and you're still at a young age, and you've been in and out of jail and in and out of prison for a couple of times, guess what? You're not worried about going back because you know, man, I can take on all these bids they throw at me, man. Look at me, man. I'm young, you know, I got money. You know what I'm saying? They can't hurt me, they can't ruin me, you know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna break me. They love me in that. They love me in that. Well, is it really loving that? Or is it you having to be put in PC or writing a check in because you're so high profile as a person that you have a target painted on your back for whatever reason? And some of those reasons could be, okay, I heard about him, I don't like him because of whatever reason. Or you have some older OGs and then some OGs who are young, you know, middle-aged OGs per se, who are like, man, you put in a good position, but you keep screwing up, so you're going to get pressed a lot. Eventually, you know, there's only one of you and a lot of people who are just going to surround you and gang up on you, man, and test you because, okay, you're in here, we got to test you, gangster. The streets, you can run. Inside here, you can't run. It's more dangerous inside the facilities than it is out in the streets, man. You take a look at how Kodak antics are. He's not fully developed up here yet. You know, he doesn't understand. Eventually, there's gonna come a time and a place where he's gonna get in bigger trouble than he has ever been in. And you know what? The IRS, the DA, they're gonna come and take everything. Law enforcement's gonna come and take everything. They're gonna freeze his assets. They're gonna take his assets. You're gonna lose everything. See, he still has everything right now. But sooner or later, and this has been known to happen, man, sooner or later, guess what? Everything is going to end up, everything you bought, everything you worked for, the money, the people, it's all going to go away, man, once you really get in amount of trouble. And then you're looking at letters, if not a couple of, if not like what, 3 football field numbers. You're going to be sitting and thinking to yourself like, damn. And it's going to happen so fast that you're not going to know what to do because you're not going to be able to do anything. So you got to watch everything that you built fall down in front of you. After a while, people are going to forget about you. People ain't going to give a fuck about you no more. They ain't. Over time, when you really start thinking about stuff by yourself, I've been in that situation and I had to rebuild up from the ground up. I had to make that decision because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of the bullshit that I had to go through, but I know I still had to go through it in order to still get somewhere. May not be where I wanted, but at least I'm somewhere. And once you lose everything, you're thinking about that and you're seeing your mom having to go back to work at a job that she struggled at. People are going to look at her. They ain't going to say nothing, but they're going to look at her and they're going to think inside their mind, I now look at her, she lost her house, she's back here at this dead-end job. She has a disappointment of a son. Ain't nobody going to want to be around her, but people are going to want to talk to her to be nosy so they can use that information to hurt her. Think about that. The same thing with Bobby Shmurda. Bobby Shmurda comes out, he makes it almost the same identical song to Hot Boy. The same shit. Still rapping GS9. He knows his GS9 homies are going to be out. He is still young too. Been in there for 6 years. He's still young. But I don't think he even hit, 25 yet? So, of course, in his mindset and him coming out getting all this love and people handing him money, right, to get a bit of a financial start, in jewelry, in a helicopter, and still hanging around the same shit that got you into the same position that got you locked up in the first place. Still riding around, popping some hot shit, thinking, Bobby learned, man, you know, he gonna change. I can't say he didn't lose anything because he was just getting off the ground by the time he went away. The money that he brought in, he gave to his mom so she can get out the hood. And we heard what happened after that. She ended up having to move right back to the ghettos, having to work at the same dead-end job. You would think that would have broke Bobby's heart. You would have think like that would allow him to change. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully he has changed. Hopefully right now he's just happy just to be out. But the thing is, I knew people like that, and guess what? They don't realize the people that they hurt because they're so blindsided of the bullshit in front of them. That's nothing more than a false dream, a false acronym. And the people around them ain't gonna give a shit because you're gonna have new people around you as well, and you thinking, I think I know this person. I think they've been day ones, and then you're all hanging out, talking to them like y'all been down for years, and then the same shit happens again, and guess what? You're right back in there. You're doing time. You're gonna get out because you still got them young years left in you, and you're still gonna act the same way. Eventually, guess what? You're gonna end up losing whatever you had. You're gonna see your mom hurt, and then back at work again, and the same. You don't think the same people thought the same? You don't think when she went at work, her employees looked down on her and thought less of her, because they did. I'm from down south. I've been down south. I see this type of shit too at times. You don't think they're gonna look at Bobby's mom when she had to go back to work after her son got sentenced and lost her place? What do you think they thought of that? I'm gonna tell you what they thought of that. Cause the stuff like that, people gonna think the same thing. Like, yeah, you thought you were hot stuff, huh? Cause your son now, look, he's gone. You thought you had a good place. You ain't had no place. Now you back living at the same bullshit. You thought you could have retired. Now look at you. Now you're working at the same dead-end job again. You have a disappointment for a son. When he gets out, he's gonna go back to the right shit. Unfortunately, that's the sad reality, man. That's why I say I don't think Kodak and Bobby Shmurda ever gonna change. And again, my advice to young men right now, to a lot of young cats in these streets, I'm gonna give you the same advice somebody told me constantly. You can't keep hanging around the same people and try to prove that you're real and loyal, because they're not gonna care about you in the end once you get jammed up. You can't be real and loyal to everybody you meet. People are just gonna have to be associates or just like a quick hire and keep it moving. Because at the end of the day, only person that you're gonna have is you, and if something happens to you, you're gonna be left alone by yourself and left standing, either sentenced or dying somewhere on the streets, or going 6 feet under by yourself. And all those people you call your homies and looked out for, they ain't gonna give a shit about you once you lose everything. Because once you lose everything, everybody else leaves. That's exactly what happened to me one time. You know, I was gaining so much of the street money, and when all that went away, because I got in trouble, everybody else went away. When I got out, they wanted to act cool because they see me hitting the streets. Because, again, I stayed quote unquote real. People wanted to start coming back around. I was like, no, F you, F you, F you. And I went off and I popped off on everybody. Again, I'm not going to incriminate myself for saying certain things, but I'm going to say this. Some people ain't here no more. Some people left. Some people are still walking around with scars because of me. And I choose to stay by myself with everything that I got now, that I worked for. You know, I knew somebody just like Kodak, like literally just like him growing up in school. And he was on the sports team. I think he football or basketball. I'm not gonna say his name. He got jammed up when 7th grade year. He didn't get out until sophomore year, or he didn't return till my senior year. So he was gone for a very long time, along with some other people who got jammed up. Who, you know, when you take suburban people and they see the street life, they want a taste of that. And they're more about that shit than people from the actual streets, who come from the hoods and the projects. But they got jammed up with weed and a couple of gun charges, and everybody did turn on each other, unfortunately. And because I knew most of them, they would come to me and try to get information where such and such live, and I ain't gonna know where such and such live just because we hang out in school and talk and stuff like that. I mean, we kick it after school. I knew one of them that lived up the street, but he ain't there no more though. A lot of them did time, but when one of them changed for the better. I think another one decided to move on with his life to get a fresh start. Hopefully, he's doing good. But the other one, he still stayed to his same antics, and sadly, unfortunately, he got jammed up, went to jail. When he got out, he went right back to it, and then all of a sudden, he got killed. He couldn't change. He couldn't realize the people that he was hurting. And by the time it's too late because when you're laying dying and there's no help and you're by yourself, your life starts flashing before you and you start having so much regrets and you're trying to fight to stay alive. But unfortunately, you succumb to your injuries and you pass on. So by the time you want to change your ways, it becomes too late. It becomes too late. That's why I say I don't think Kodak or Bobby Shmurda are really going to change like that. But if you were to ask me who would probably change, I do believe Kodak might actually change before Bobby Shmurda. I do believe so. Because I think his mother's from Hades. And those type of mothers, they ain't gonna fucking play around with this. I think behind closed scenes, she probably shook his ass up and gave him them hands, man, and gave him a talking to, like, look, I'm sick of you doing this shit. You keep doing this, I'm gonna keep hurting you, and eventually I'm gonna take your life. Yeah. Foreign mothers, you don't beat us as American kids. Those who have American mothers, we need to be grateful because, boy, them foreigner mothers, they ain't gonna play. Biggie Smalls' mother came from Jamaica. She wanted to get out of that shit that she lived in and saw and wanted a better life for her son. But when her son started to mess it up, you don't think she put them hands on him? She didn't take a belt to switch and beat him. No, she gave him them goddamn hands. Foreign mothers do not play. I know this from example. My best friend, who was born here in America, but his mother came from Jamaica, right? When he would screw up in school, gotta remember this times were different back then, okay? It wasn't, you could go out, you could discipline your child in public and not get arrested for it. They didn't label it as child abuse. You could beat your child with a belt in front of God and everybody. But today's time, as a parent, you can't do that. But when he would screw up in school, and his mother is a strong woman, I know his mother and his auntie pretty well. They really nice ladies. But I'm telling you, man, when he would screw up in school, that phone call would happen. She'd go up there, cuss him out, put them hands on him, and then she would put the belt on him. He did change. Again, he had his mother, who had to be the father as well, and his aunt, and he had good people around him. He wasn't a street kid. He just acted up, you know what I'm saying? He just acted up, and he has a good job. He was in the National Guard for a good while as well. He about almost my age now, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, again, them foreign mothers don't play. So I guarantee you, that's why I say I think Kodak gonna change first before Bobby Shmurda, because Kodak mom, she a foreigner, she from Hades, and she ain't gonna play that shit with her son. She ain't. For those that watch this who have foreign mothers and who screwed up, and when your mom put them hands on you, you know what I'm talking about. I saw it, but I believe Kodak gonna change first. I do. I believe Kodak only changed first, if you were to ask me. Um, I had another friend that was a bit too gang, like Bobby, and this guy still hasn't learned his lesson. He got arrested for claiming Crips. Then he got shot for claiming Bloods. Once he healed up, he got arrested for selling weed. Tried to get a steady, decent job. Decided to hit the streets. Got arrested. Once he got out, he got shot again for the same gang shit that he kept just saying way too damn much, man. Getting people in trouble because of his mouth, and he's still alive, but it's what the last couple of bullets did to him. They made him. I can't say the word because I don't know how to describe it, but it made him not brain dead, but he ended up getting put in one of those motorized bed chairs for those type of people, that happen like that, who kind of have their own stuff coming out their mouths. Yeah, that's what happened to him getting shot again. And I had another friend who's sadly going to be in a home for the rest of his life because one bullet to the face messed him up. Why? Because he was hustling for somebody. He was trying to stay real to people who didn't care about him, and they set him up. They shot him in the face, pow, one time, threw him in the back of a trunk. Luckily, somebody came by and heard him, got him out of there, brought him to the hospital, but that one bullet really messed him up like that to where he's going to be in a home for the rest of his life. And that's really sad and unfortunate because this guy, even though he could still walk and talk, he just has really bad trust issues because of that. And I wish I was there because we looked out for each other. He looked out for me a lot during the earlier years and gave me some nice clothes to wear because he didn't like me wearing rags to school and getting bullied because of it. But unfortunately, man, when you stick to people, around people like Kodak and Bobby Shmurda, shit like that does happen. Things like that unfortunately happen, but hopefully both of those young men can change their antics because it ain't no fun when reality hits you and everything's took from you. Everybody's gone. You see your moms having to go back to a dead-end job and move back into the projects or whatever. And then you realize to yourself how much you screwed up, so you're going to want to do what you can to get out, do your time. But you're going to want to make it be known while you're behind the wall. Say, everybody who ain't here with me, those who didn't care, you really have this sense of disrespectful disses and headshots to them. And you got to mean it. And if you have to send a message in a way to say, hey, I put a couple of stacks on this person's head to send a clear message, then you're going to have to do just that. And then you're going to have to, and then who's ever left, if you don't decide to do that, you got to cut them off where it hurts. They ain't going to like that. So when you get out, they ain't going to be there when you get out. Because I guarantee you, they going to be dead already from some shit they try to do to the next person. I guarantee you. And if they not, and when you get out and they try to come back around, but who are you? I ain't got time to talk to a stranger. I need to go on about my business. The best example of this, watch the movie Carlito's Way. I think it's part 2 with Al Pacino, because Carlito 1 takes place, storyline, in the 70s with a young Carlito. And Carlito's Way 2, Al Pacino comes back and he plays as an older character as Carlito who got out from doing time. And he tries to do everything right, but in the wrong way. And unfortunately, him not having anybody with him to try to point him in the right direction, or not just, straight up and leave. He goes back to the same people and some new people that he dealt with, who heard about him, who are also trying to come up and say, you're a legend, man, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, people build him up just to kill him. And this is a guy that tried to change his ways. And when you try to change your ways, you don't want to just go back to whatever you're trying to do to change your ways. It's just best to leave and just start over, and cut people off where it hurts. And if they don't like it, okay, just ignore it. But you do want to be prepared just in case something goes down, But yeah, that these are the reasons why, I think that why Kodak and Bobby Shmurda are not going to change. But I believe Kodak's probably going to change more than Bobby Shmurda, and hopefully Kodak sees that the people that he used to be around never cared about him, because we all saw it for ourselves that, him getting arrested for people, him doing time for people who didn't care about him, and then being on live and having them, hyping him up to say crazy things, and all of a sudden he gets all this backlash. Again, he's too street for the industry, but I believe he'll change before Bobby. People from Brooklyn, from up there, and I know some people in Brooklyn and how that goes, because I get love from them when I was doing music from down south. You have those that don't change like that, and they get jammed up again, or they get killed. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.